everyone, this is PK Entertainment and we're back again, and here now we have another video for you, and we're going to take a look back at the 90s science fiction action thriller Timecop. Released on September the 16th, 1994, it stars Claude Van Damme, Ron Silver, Sara, and it was directed by Peter Hymas. Now the story of Timecop is set in the back then present era of 1994, where the American Justice Department has identified the threat of time travel technology, highlighting individuals who can go back to the past for their financial gain, causing potential changes to events in the present. They plan to set up the Time Enforcement Commission to combat this threat. We then focus on police officer Max Waller, who has recently been offered a job in the Time Enforcement Commission, and we see him at home with his wife Melissa, and suddenly they are attacked by criminals at night, and this results in Max being shot and wounded and Melissa being killed in a house explosion. We then fast forward to a then futuristic 2004, where Max has now been an officer for the TEC for over 10 years, apprehending individuals who were travelling back in time. And during an assignment in 1929, Max is alerted to the time travel technology being used by Senator McCab, who wants to use it to fund his political campaigns and aspirations to become president. We then get plenty of twists and turns along the way as Max goes all out to prevent McCab from fulfilling his overall ambitions. And when looking back at Timecop, it's overall a very solid, entertaining action movie. It moves along at a good pace with some decent set pieces, and as with all futuristic time travel stories, there are some interesting and engaging concepts, some of which don't fully follow through when you really think about it. But what makes Timecop successful like other time travel stories is that it doesn't lose itself in the whole paradox and explanation of time travel to the point where it's too confusing and heavy-handed. The story stays simple enough to where Walker is striving to stop McCab from manipulating time in order to become president, and the film doesn't deviate too much from that narrative. It essentially feels much more like a chase picture, and that's what keeps it overall compelling. Despite being a science fiction film, it's much more driven by plot rather than special effects or breathtaking action. And I do think there's enough of a solid narrative here where you can ignore all of the time travel mechanics and still enjoy the movie. Now, if you want to take a far more critical analysis, then yes, there's plenty to pick apart in terms of the rules and the setup in the movie's time travel. Why is it when we see the cops going back in time, they initially use a white shuttlecraft, but it's not there when they enter a different time zone? How exactly do they then get back? Shouldn't there be enough technology to ensure that individuals land in secure locations rather than, let's say, in water or to an upcoming lorry where we see Max having to duck underneath it? There's no real point in sending these guys back in time if they're going to meet their death upon entry. We then have the whole concept of the same matter not being able to occupy the same space. And in terms of the film, this doesn't really work. We have two individuals who are the same person, yes, but one person is obviously a lot older than the other, so they're not really the same entity. Now we do know in time travel stories that bumping into your past self always has potential consequences, but the rules here don't really work out. We have multiple scenes where we have two versions of the same people, whether it's Max or whether it's McCab, and they're literally standing opposite one another, which I class as the same matter very much occupying the same space. Now we know they include this just to kind of up the stakes, especially when we come to the dramatic finale, but again, it's something that really doesn't follow through when you think about it. We then have multiple instances of Max going back in the past and then coming back to a future which has changed in some form, which throws up so many questions, almost too much to go through. And I also didn't like the final climax of 10 to 15 minutes, mainly because it's shot very dark and we have lots of rainfall where we have the battle inside the house, and it did take away a lot of the tension because you really couldn't make out what's going on. But to be fair, I think Van Damme is actually decent enough in the lead role, overall providing a solid protagonist for which you can follow. But easily the best performance of the film is by Ron Silver as the villainous senator, showing much that ruthless streak and menacing presence, which again is a very good asset to the film. So we then go and talk about the movie's overall box office, and it was a success, grossing over 101.6 million from a budget of around 27 to 28 million. And the movie turned out to be the highest grossing entry within Van Damme's career. And focusing on that point, we then ask the overall question as to whether Timecop is the best film of Van Damme's overall career. Now, I'd still maintain that title belongs to Hard Target from 1993, which was directed by John Woo, but Timecop remains definitely one of Claude Van Damme's upper tier efforts, and it's a great example of having a success with a renowned action star who has limited range, but giving him far more interesting scripts and concepts rather than the standard action man genre where he's literally a one-man action superhero. And these superior scripts was definitely proven, with Van Damme enjoying a short period of mainstream success throughout the early 90s with the likes of Universal Soldier, Hard Target and Timecop as well. And this is definitely remaining one of his best overall movies. And whilst I wouldn't put Timecop in the same science fiction class as, let's say, Terminator or Minority Report or Total Recall, it still remains an entertaining watch and is absolutely one of the best movies of Van Damme's overall career. So there's my other thoughts and feelings when looking back at the movie Timecop. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and if you have any further suggestions regarding any other movies, television series or any other topics within the pop entertainment and culture scene that you'd like to see me cover, then let me know in the comments and I will see if I can provide further commentary for you on that subject matter within the future. Please consider hitting like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves and I will see you very, very soon.